Guys, what exactly is a breakout when you're trading? What is a breakout strategy? There are people who only trade breakout strategy because they can be so profitable. Usually right before a breakout strategy, price consolidates, letting you know that something big and major is going to happen. That's why there are some people who trade that. But then there are people like me who specifically intraday trade or swing trade or even scalp. But then when you identify these specific shapes in the market, you know something major is going to happen. I'm going to show you an easy and sure way to actually look for these shapes for the perfect breakout strategy. Watch this, guys. So guys, look at these shapes here. We have the wedge, we have the flag pattern, we have the rectangle, the triangle, the pennant. There are so many different patterns that you can identify for breakout. The only bad thing about these patterns is that price doesn't look like that in real life. When you're looking for these particular patterns on your chart, it's very hard to identify. So it's best for you to identify key levels. And let me show you what I mean. So this is what I mean by finding key level. I can go ahead and find a downtrend here. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw another line below. Here's my support line. And if you look closely, here is a triangle pattern. The easy way for you to find a triangle pattern in this case is to find a downtrend and then a support line. And here is your triangle pattern. You can see that price is starting to get smaller and smaller, simply meaning that buyers and sellers are trying to figure out which way they want to run the market and to eventually get small enough and it'll break to the upside or to the downside where you can collect a lot of pips. So that's why a lot of people trade breakout strategies, because they know a big movement is happening. Let's go ahead and look at another one. So here's another one here. I'm going to grab my trend line and I can easily identify an uptrend, right? And so what I like to do is grab it and clone it and take it up to the top. And what we have created is a channel also known as a flag pattern. So whenever you have two trend lines headed in a specific direction, whether if it's headed up or headed down, that is a flag pattern. And eventually it will break to the downside or to the upside, resulting in some major moves here. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more. All right, I'm going to go ahead and find my key levels here. Here's my resistance level here. And then I have my support level right here, where we can see price had tested this multiple times here at the same at the top here, tested multiple times. This is our classic support and resistance, also known as a rectangle pattern. And we know when we do that, and we see price consolidating, is going to eventually break to the upside or to the downside. In this case, it broke to the downside with a huge move here. So the whole purpose of trading breakouts is knowing when a huge move is going to happen. Typically when buyers and sellers aren't really sure exactly what's going to go. So either price is starting to narrow, which is that triangle where buyers and sellers are really coming to a specific price, or if it consolidates like this where they don't really know exactly what to do and eventually sellers overtake them. So that's the whole purpose of trading a breakout, identifying these strategies, not specifically looking at that chart that I showed you earlier, but finding these key levels, knowing that a huge move is going to be taking place. Now let's talk about entries. This is some things that I like to do, and there's different breakout strategies out there. But when I see price consolidating like this, there are a couple things I like to do. One, I want to see a close below my support zone or above my resistance zone. I have to have a strong candle below it, even if it's piercing through it, as long as I have the majority of the candle underneath and it close, which means if I'm on the 1 hour, I need that 1 hour to complete itself before I go to a sell. Some people don't want to lose the opportunity, so that what they would do is sell right when it closes to the downside. So from here, and they would sell down here. Here's a good level to exit because this was also a support area here as well. So you can do something like that. And another thing what people who trade breakouts like to do is wait for price to go below their support zone and come back and retest this line right here and retest. So once that retest, then they will go ahead for a sell. Oftentimes you can miss on that particular breakout, but it's for someone who like to trade these breakout strategies very conservatively. So for someone who don't want to miss it, you can wait for the majority of the candle to close. So if you're trading the 1 hour, for example, you want to wait for it to close before you sell off, if that's something you want to do. Also, you can do fractional lot sizing. So if you're risking 2% of your entire account, for example, you can break that 2% up into multiple trades where you can put 1% of it in a trade right when it closes and leave the other one for a sell limit if it comes back and retests this previous support zone. So that's one way that you can go ahead and find an entry. Now let's go ahead and look at some take profits and stop loss strategies as well. Now, something to note, you can find these patterns on any time frame. Now, the time frame completely depends on you, your personality, and how your day looks. So if you're a very busy trader, you may want to consider an intraday or a swing trade. If you have a lot of times in your hand, you can scalp, but you can definitely do that. So if you're looking to scalp, you want to look on a lower time frame for these patterns. If you're looking to intraday or to swing trade, you want to look on the higher time frames to look for these particular patterns as well. So let's look at the previous flag pattern that I drew, or an uptrend channel that I drew. And what we're going to do is follow this. It's been respecting support and resistance until it finally broke through here. So like I said, sometimes people like for price to come out of the channel like this, come back and retest and put a sell limit right here. Now we can see price went just above it, so they went negative for a while until that big move that I mentioned for breakout strategies happened. So how would you adjust your stop loss and take profit? Number one, you want to make sure that your stop loss is away from your structure. So what we did is we put this sell limit right here, and we can see just above here is previous support going horizontally, right? We have support going vertically, which is our trend line, and we have support going horizontal, right? So we know that price may come back and retest this area. So it would be safe to even put a sell limit here as well, in which it did touch. So that would be wise, but you want to make sure it's away from structure. You want to make sure you have at least a 1 to 2% ratio, right, when you're trading. So if you're looking to risk 70, you want to make sure you're profiting about 140 or more. So of course I'm on the daily, but if you're looking at something different, if you're looking at a different time frame, it's going to look a bit different to you, right? So you're risking 70 and you're profiting, let's say from here to about here, that's about 300 plus pips here. If you look left for clues, we see that this was previous support, and we know that price is more likely to come down. Plus, price is overbought, right? We just came from an uptrend. It's been climbing for a few months. So it has to come down to give itself some breathing room, okay? So those are some things that you can look for when you are considering a take profit and a stop loss. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? I want to keep this video really quick. Identify these patterns. Don't make it complicated. Just identify those key levels that I showed you instead of memorizing the patterns, and just understand that when you find those particular patterns or key levels, that buyers and sellers are trying to determine which way they want the price to shoot. And usually when you see this channel here, or in other words, a flag pattern, you know that there's going to be a huge move going in one direction, just depending on where price closes. In this case, we've seen price close below the trend line. It came back up to retest. So if you're conservative, you want to make sure that you get in on that retest before it shoots back down. All right. So be sure to risk no more than 1 to 2% of your entire account when you're trading, so that you can live to trade another day. Guys, if you struggle with trading, with your entries, your stop loss, or just need to be consistently profitable, check out our BK Forex Academy. It's in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join our free Telegram for motivation and trade ideas, guys. And we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.